I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is a public meeting for planning applications, zoning bylaw amendments. So the first one, this is a public meeting as required by subsection 3412 of the Planning Act to afford any person an opportunity to make representation with respect to a proposed zoning bylaw amendment respecting 6738 Quaker Road. The purpose of the amendment is to rezone the subject lands to satisfy a condition required by the municipality of Central Elgin and the County of Elgin Land Division Committee that would prohibit the retained lands from constructing a new residential dwelling. This is a general requirement for any residence surplus to a farm operation consent application within a prime agricultural area. Does any member of council have a disclosure of interest concerning this proposal? Seeing none, what method of notice and when was notice given to the public for this meeting?
Madam Mayor, as per requirements of the Planning Act, notice was mailed by regular post to every owner of land within 120 meters of the subject land and applicable agencies on Friday, November the 24th. Notice was physically posted to the property by municipal staff and placed on the municipal website. Notice was also displayed in the weekly CE Buzz advertisement.
Thank you. Mr. McClure, you're going to walk us through this one. Would you go ahead?
So I'll just share my screen here. As has been indicated, this is the draft zoning bylaw amendment for 6738 Quaker Road. As can be seen on the screen, this is the location of the subject lands east of Quaker Road, just south of Fruit Ridge Line and north of the community of Sparta. And as was indicated, this is the portion of the lands that were severed and what's being retained, and then again the zoning to reflect which is typical for a surplus farm severance zoning application. So part one of the amendment introduces Schedule A to the bylaw, being map part 49D. And then part two of the amendment designates the lands outlined in heavy solid lines on Schedule A as OS 1-214. As can be seen on the screen here, later on, there'll be a section that speaks to the OS 1-215. That's the hatched area, which is the severed lands. So part three of the amendment introduces a new subsection being 8.2.2. 0.214. It defines the area shown on zoning map part 49D as OS 1-214, provides that the only permitted uses are the farm use and accessory use, and then provides that the only buildings, permitted buildings and structures being farm buildings and structures, but no dwelling shall be permitted, and then accessory buildings and structures are also permitted. Then provides for exceptions to the general provisions of the OS1 zone to allow for what was previously referred to in that subsection. Then part four of the amendment designates the land shown on that previous Schedule A and the hatched area as OS 1-215, and then provides a new subsection after the 8.2.2.214 being 8.2.2.215. It defines that area shown on zoning map part 49D as OS 1-215. Provides that the only permitted uses in that zone are rural residential use, home occupations, and accessory uses. Provides that the permitted buildings and structures are the buildings and structures existing at the time of the passing of this bylaw, and that the accessory buildings and structures are also permitted. And then again, provides for exceptions to the general provisions of the OS1 zone to allow for these permitted uses in that site-specific zone. And then part six of the amendment introduces Schedule B to the bylaw, being zoning map 49, which includes all the changes that have been made to that zoning map by previous amendments to the date, including this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McClure. Have you received any written submissions on this proposal?
Madam Mayor, correspondence has been received from Catfish Creek Conservation Authority stating no concerns with the zoning amendment.
Thank you. We will now be opening the meeting to questions from the public. For those attending who have not already submitted their concerns or comments to the municipality, if you are listening on your computer, tablet, or smartphone, please click the raise hand icon. And if you have called into the meeting using a telephone, please dial *9. The questions will be taken in sequential order. When given the opportunity to speak, please provide your name and address for the record. The meeting is now open to the public, and Mr. Perrin will let me know if anyone wishes to speak.
Madam Mayor, there are no people in the gallery wishing to speak.
Thank you very much. Do any members of council have any questions? Seeing none, any members of staff? Everyone has been given a fair opportunity to be heard. If there are no further questions, please be advised that any person wishing further information on the actions of council regarding the passing of a bylaw on the proposed amendment should email Diane Wilson at dwilson@centralelgin.org, indicating which public meeting they wish to be notified on and provide their name and address. Those who do not have access to a computer and wish to be notified should call Diane Wilson at 519-631-4860, extension 286, and provide the same information. This public meeting is now concluded. Any amendment to the bylaw will be considered at a future meeting of council.
Yeah, so I keep forgetting people can go on and watch it later. Yeah.
Just so for your information, if you are watching, the next meeting starts at 7:15. So we will not be starting the next one until 7:15. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is a public meeting as required by subsection 3412 of the Planning Act to afford any person an opportunity to make representation with respect to a proposed zoning bylaw amendment respecting 45811 Fruit Ridge Line. The purpose of the amendment is to rezone the subject lands to accurately reflect the uses that are occurring on the property. Specifically, the lands have long been in agricultural production, with a wine manufacturing license being approved by the LCBO in 1990. Since that time, the uses on the site have evolved and or expanded, and the proposed amendment is looking to reflect the existing agricultural related and on-farm diversified uses that are on the property. Does any member of council have a disclosure of interest concerning this proposal? Seeing none, what method of notice and when was notice given to the public for this meeting?
Madam Mayor, as per requirements of the Planning Act, notice was mailed by regular post to every owner of land within 120 meters of the subject land and applicable agencies on Friday, November the 24th. Notice was physically posted to the property by municipal staff and placed on the municipal website. Notice was also displayed in the weekly CE Buzz advertisements.
Thank you. Mr. McClure, would you like to run us through this zoning amendment?
Yes, so thank you, Madam Mayor. To share my screen. So as has been indicated, this is a draft zoning bylaw amendment for 45811 Fruit Ridge Line. As can be seen on the screen right now, the area highlighted in red is the subject lands. However, the rationale and the reasoning behind it is to address some of the uses that are kind of contained within more or less the cluster of buildings to the north end of the property. As was indicated, the Yarmouth bylaw currently allows for and provides definitions for agricultural use. However, in the recent years, there have been more specific definitions related to agriculture related and on-farm diversified use by the province and through local official plans. So this is just going forward to kind of legitimize what's been occurring on the property and would be consistent with the uses that are associated with the agriculture related uses and on-farm diversified uses by the province, and again, as permitted through our local official plans. So this moves on to the amendment itself, with being part one of the amendment, introducing a number of schedules, Schedule A, Schedule B, and Schedule C. Just due to the composition of the map parts in the Yarmouth bylaw, there's 3 schedules that are map parts that are covered by portions of this property. So that introduces map part 36AF, 49C, and 74A. And then part 2 of the amendment then designates the property of the subject lands and heavy solid lines on schedules A, B, and C, and designates them OS 1-213. Just going to be seen on here is 36AF with the portion of the property in the upper left-hand corner. 49C on the left-hand side of the map part, and then 74A with the entirety of the property shown in heavy solid lines. Part 3 of the amendment then introduces a new subsection to the OS1 general provisions, being 8.2.2.213, defines the area shown on the zoning map parts 36AF, 49C, and 74A as OS1-213, provides that the permitted uses on the property are agricultural use, agricultural related use, on-farm diversified use, rural residential use, home occupations, and accessory uses. Provides that the buildings and structures, permitted buildings and structures being the buildings and structures for the permitted uses noted above, and accessory buildings and structures. Introduces a coverage of 2% of the lot area to a maximum of 1 hectare for on-farm diversified use. This is consistent with the Ministry of Agricultural, Food and Rural Affairs guidelines of permitted use in the agricultural area. So again, it's limiting the size of those on-farm diversified uses to that specific requirement. The uses that are currently on the site would fall well within that coverage. The definitions Now, because we don't have any definitions in the official plan, the zoning bylaw that speak to agricultural related use or on farm diversified use, this subsection provides for a definition for agriculture related use, meaning those farm related commercial and farm related industrial uses that are directly related to farm operations in the area, support agriculture, benefit from being in close proximity to farm operations, and provide direct products and or services to farm operations as a primary activity. And then B, being the on-farm diversified use, means uses that are secondary to the principal agricultural use of the property and are limited in area. On-farm diversified uses include, but are not limited to, home occupations, home industries, agritourism uses, and uses that produce value-added agricultural products. These definitions are directly from the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs guideline documents. So again, it's being consistent with provincial direction on these types of uses. And then the next being this introducing the subsection that provides the exceptions to the general provisions of the OS1 zone to again allow for the implementation of these site-specific regulations to the property. And then part 4 of the amendment again introduces schedules D, E, and F to the bylaw, being zoning maps 36, 49, and 74, which are again what we typically do when we have a consolidated version of those map parts to reflect all of the changes that have occurred to those parts over the years through previous amendments, including this amendment. So again, being here with it in the upper left-hand corner, again to the left-hand side, and then again with in the portion of the property here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McClure. Have you received any written submissions on this proposal?
Madam Mayor, correspondence has been received from Catfish Creek Conservation Authority stating no concerns with the zoning amendment.
Thank you. We will now open the meeting to questions from the public. For those attending who have not already submitted their concerns or comments to the municipality, if you are listening on your computer, tablet, or smartphone, please click the raise hand icon. And if you have called into the meeting using a telephone, please dial *9. The questions will be taken in sequential order. When given the opportunity to speak, please provide your name and address for the record. I am now opening the meeting to the public, and Mr. Perrin will let me know if anyone wishes to speak.
Madam Mayor, seeing no request to address council.
Thank you. Do any members of council have any questions? Councillor Fair.
I just have one. It's in section 3A about the 5th or 6th paragraph down after the first list of 1 to 6 of agricultural uses. And the paragraph starts out through publication 851. I don't know if it matters. They're trying to clean it up, but it says the farm is processing the grapes that are grown on site. Now, I believe under the Ontario Vintners rules, they are allowed to do other grapes and they do mix. I just wondered if that should be put in there too, so that they can crush other grapes that are not grown on the farm, or if this doesn't matter.
Mr. McClure.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Councillor Fair. I don't believe so in this instance that it would be an issue. Again, it goes back to that they're utilizing the products on site. It does allow for understand that you can use products from other farms in the area as well or elsewhere. But again, being that it's acknowledging that it's a agricultural related use, so it's related to the processing of an agricultural product. But again, it not being the sole product, like you're not just shipping in grapes from elsewhere. There is an agricultural component to the property, so I don't think in this instance that we would need to get that specific.
And I think a lot of what they bring in is actually squeezed juice that they then turn into wine, at least for a while, because I know they can't keep up with the demand. But they may well bring in grapes, I don't know. Any other questions? Councillor Kravitz.
In the area where it shows the let's see what schedule is. On schedule 2 of the information we had, there's a part 1 and part 2. Where is the parking area for the part 1? It's not indicated. I've been to this venue a few times and I know where the parking area is. It's not shown in the schedule. I'm just wondering if there's a reason for that, or should the parking be included in this area?
But Madam Mayor, there is a grassed in area that's next to, I can show you where, if I can bring up actually my screen again. Share here. Yeah, so there is an area down in this area that has been used for parking in the past. During the discussions, during consultations, there was a bit of a discussion going back to whether or not they may put some of that area back into grape production or some other agricultural use. But when we were doing the calculations themselves, I did include the area all the way out to the grapes to the side over here. So the area was included in the calculation, and they were still under the maximum permitted through the OMAFR's guidelines.
Okay, yeah, it's still under the 2% or the 2 hectares. Okay.
No, still.
Hectare, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, everyone has been given a fair opportunity to be heard. If there are no further questions, please be advised that any person wishing further information on the actions of council regarding the passing of a bylaw on the proposed amendment should email Diane Wilson at dwilson@centralelgin.org, indicating which public meeting they wish to be notified on and providing their name and address. Those who do not have access to a computer and wish to be notified should call Diane Wilson at 519-631-4860, extension 286, and provide the same information. This public meeting is now concluded. Any amendment to the bylaw will be considered at a future meeting of council.